So is this an unofficial off-site recording of the Insight podcast?
I suppose, yeah, offsite.
It's an off-site insight.
Hindsight.
The Hindsight podcast, launching in 2020. So recently, Dara, we had elections in this country.
We surely did.
I suppose for anybody who isn't familiar with the voting process in Ireland, because I know people in America and people in the UK just have like a trash garbage voting system, which is terrible and nobody should use, called, America has the Electoral College and UK has first past the post. Both are terrible. But what we have is first preference or like single transferable vote. So for our voting candidates, we have to order them by order of preference. So the guy we give the number one vote to is sort of who our vote has been cast for. But I think then the way it works is that if he either gets elected or doesn't get elected and doesn't need our vote then goes down to the guy we give the number two to, and 3, 4, 5. Usually there's about 6 candidates in every election. And that's not that hard to keep satisfied in your brain. But in this election, there was not 6 candidates. Can you recall for me, Dara, in your area, how many candidates there were?
In our local area, there were 17 in the local election.
Holy crap.
And 23 in the European Parliament election.
Oh my God. Yeah. I think are you in the Tralee constituency?
I'm in the Tralee, yeah.
Yeah. I was, I think they've gerrymandered my area and I now count as being in Castle Island.
Right.
So for mine, I think I had 7 in the local election, but also in the European election, I had 23. And for me, as a sighted person, so anybody not listening, you are blind.
I am, yeah.
Yeah. And as me, someone who is not blind, I found it tremendously difficult to assign 23 votes. But that was felt like a real first world problem after talking to you, because my main issue was, one, that the sheet of paper with the candidates was longer than the string attached to my pencil. So I couldn't write on the paper by moving the pen. I'd have to move the paper up and down like a typewriter and keep the pen in the same place and try and write in the candidates. But otherwise, it was very hard to remember what number I'd given to what guy, because 23 is a ridiculous number of candidates.
The page itself was at least 2 feet long.
It was huge. It was like a scroll.
Yeah, that's even when I picked it up the first time, I felt like I was in some sort of old movie giving a proclamation. Like,
yeah.
Hear ye, hear
Hear
ye.
ye, hear you. 23 candidates going for European elections.
Cast your vote now.
Yeah. So usually the way I vote is that I'll give 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the candidates or the parties that I kind of like. And then I'll go 23, 22, 21, 20 to the guys I don't like to make sure that they don't get in. And then for the ones in between, I don't even know how I did it. It could have been alphabetical. I could have looked at their jobs and gone, he's a teacher. That's fine. This guy is a project manager, developer. That doesn't mean anything. I'll give him a low one, but very confusing to do. I honestly couldn't tell you now who I voted for, because I think it took me about 15 minutes to do it all.
I could tell you who I voted number ones. And after that, I can't even remember. 17 is a lot of people.
Yeah.
3 is just ridiculous.
I can't believe that you had a combination of 40 candidates to assign votes to. I think I only had 7 locals, so I even had an easier time than you. Not to mind the fact that I was able to see the ballot paper. So what was your experience of going and voting like?
So voting as a blind person is uniquely different because, well, one thing, you can't see the ballot sheet. So up until a year ago, all referenda and elections were completely inaccessible. You always had to have someone with you, be it a family member, a friend, or one of the officers in the polling station, to give you assistance in marking the page, putting X in the box, or giving your 1, 2, 3s, etc. So then last year, when it came to the abortion referendum, I think that was done last year. And they brought in a brand new system where they had a tactile sheet which would go over the ballot paper. Now, tactile is basically it means something you can feel, you can touch. It's got a texture to it.
Okay.
It would have the yes and the no over the boxes, risen in letters as in their normal symbol letters.
Is this kind of a sleeve that you slide the voting paper into?
No, so this just attaches on top of it. You just put it on. It's a bit sticky.
Oh, okay.
So then you can stick it on and you can peel it off.
Okay, so like those
no damage to the page whatsoever.
Okay, so kind of like when you were a kid and you got like sticker books and you take the stickers out, like the bit that was left, is that like the tactile? You sort of put it over the voting sheet. Okay.
Yeah, but like so it's quite hard. It's quite hard plastic though, so it can be reused.
Right, that makes sense.
So it's the same. It's more or less the same tactile for everyone. Then, as I said, the letters are risen up, but they're also in braille. So they'll have yes and no, and then the words tá and níl, so in Irish as well.
Right.
And then the boxes that you would tick or put next in, they'd be cut out on the tactile so that they'd correspond with the ballot paper. So you put the X in the box, and it would come up on the yes or no, whatever one you wanted.
That's a good point as well, that we don't actually tick in the boxes. We're told to put an X in the box, which is the thing that we like. So we're like Xing out what our actual vote is. And
then, I'm not sure what other countries, but I find that Ireland also is like, they'll put yes as no and no as yes, if that makes any sense. If that makes sense. So if you're going to change something, like, I'm going to change it, so I want to change it. So wait, so I'm voting no? Or I'm confused. So am I voting yes to change? Or yes to keep it the same? Or no to not, I don't want to change it. They put it strategically awkward if it's something they don't want you to change.
Yeah, I had that moment of horror as well, and I was like, okay, so I'm voting, hang on, what am I voting? Am I voting yes? And like reading the question again is like...
you will read it 20 million times, and you're still kind of, I think I did the right one. I think I did what I wanted. I know how I feel about it, but I'm not sure if I did the right answer.
Yeah.
But as you said, it's weird as well, like we do put an X, and I always say tick.
Yeah.
And I know it's an X, I just tick, because in your head, you tick something.
Yeah. That is the instinct.
And for anyone, obviously you can't see, but I'm actually doing the tick sign here as I'm saying it. Like, you automatically just do it.
I think we might have picked that up on the mics, the tapping of the tick symbol. I would wonder as well, what would happen if you had accidentally put in the wrong vote? Like, you can't X out an X.
No.
I actually had a situation where I had finished the vote and I had assigned it 1 to 22. And I was like, oh, that's wrong, because it's supposed to be 23. And I went counting through my ballot paper and I found out I'd put down 2 different people as 16. And I was like, oh no, this is going to spoil my ballot. But for whatever reason, they'd given me a pencil and not a pen.
Oh.
So I went to the guys and I was like, hey, have you got an eraser? And they're like, what? I'm like, oh, have you got an eraser? I made a mistake. Like, oh, I don't know. And I was like, well, I assume you do, because you gave me a pencil. I assume this is all sorted. So they had a look under the table. And sure enough, there's a big box of erasers they had never opened. So they're like, oh, that's great. And they gave me one. I was like, oh, who would have known? I'm like, well, I guess me. Like, here, thanks. Give it to me.
In fairness, they give you a pencil, which is good, because it's not like they'll give you another sheet. It's like, oh, sorry, I made a mistake. Could I have another page, please?
Yeah.
Right. No, one ballot sheet per person.
Yeah, I think it would be a mad system if they had to give extra ballot sheets.
I've spoiled my vote 4 times already.
Yeah. I think the best photo I saw online of a spoiled vote was someone who sellotaped pornography to the inside of their ballot paper and then folded it over so that when they opened it up, they saw porn. But like, I even felt bad for the people who were just like sorting the ballot boxes, because we had technically 3 votes. We had a referendum on the divorce. We had the local elections, then we had the European elections. So like, I dropped 3 papers into the box. When I was done, I was looking for 3 different boxes. And I was like, oh, I'll put this in there, this in there. And they're like, oh, no, just chuck it all in. We'll sort it later. I'm like, oh, God.
Yeah, we were the same.
Yeah?
Myself and my mother, because I went with my mother, because my mother's just voting sort of thing we do together. And we were like, should there not be 3 different boxes? Or at least 2, maybe one for the referendum and the other for the elections. But no, just chuck everything in together. I think that's just an unnecessary amount of hassle.
Yeah.
Like that, the vote was on Friday. I think they were still counting on Monday. And I was like, they could have been done earlier.
Yeah, you know me as someone who loves logistics and like systematic planning of trying to make things easier. That seemed like a terrible system for me. But like, speaking of terrible systems, we still haven't gotten through how your process of voting was.
Yeah.
Not to spoil the ending that it wasn't a great experience.
We got stuck with the referendum. So when it came to the divorce referendum, it was the same as the referendum last year. Nice easy sheet, stick it on, put your X in, yes or no, happy days. But then when it came to the election, it was a minor ordeal or a full ordeal. Not really sure how to go with it.
It felt like an ordeal.
It did. So they had a similar enough. Actually, when I say similar enough, it wasn't really that similar. Besides the fact that there was a tactile piece of plastic on the sheet, that was the only similarity between the referendum and the election. The tactile for the election, was a piece of tactile sheeting which would go on the ballot paper, and there was a cutout that would represent the box into which you would put your 1, 2, 3, etc. And how it worked was you put your 1, your 2, or your 3 into whoever, and then there was like a little flap, like a Velcro flap, which you'd put across that box so you knew who you'd voted for.
Oh, I could have used that.
Now, that's grand. Fair enough. On the tactile, there was no indication of who was whom.
Right.
So I think someone said it might have been in Braille. I don't read Braille. A lot of blind people these days don't read Braille.
Yeah.
And then it turns out it wasn't. The names were not in Braille. They were just numbered 1 to 17, 1 to 23.
From speaking to our colleague Barry, he says it's actually very unusual for a blind person to be able to read Braille unless they were born blind.
Exactly.
It seems like with most languages, it's very difficult to pick up later in life.
Yeah, exactly. And then the other ironic thing is that if you are born blind, you learn Braille, but obviously you don't learn script.
Yeah. I remember you mentioning that, yeah.
So you don't know 1, 2, 3, yet you still have to put 1, 2, 3 into a box.
Oh my, it's like drawing hieroglyphics like from just someone describing them.
Yeah.
It's like do an eagle with one eye. It's like, what kind of eagle?
Exactly.
What way is it facing?
So that's another issue, which we'll get back to in a minute. But as I said, the names weren't put down. They were put down as 1, 2, 3, etc. So the way they had this sorted out was that you had to ring a low call number, and all the candidates were listed out on the phone from 1 to 17 and 1 to 23, and you have to memorise them in order and then go in and remember, oh, Johnny was number 3, I wanted to give him my number 1. Mary was number 16, I wanted to give her my number 2. Oh, but Patrick was number 4, I wanted to give him my number 3. Already you're kind of like, who?
Yeah. I said at the start, like, I think I'd be okay at keeping like maybe 6 candidates in my head, but I think that would be my absolute limit. Were the candidates on the ballot paper listed in the same order as they were read out on the phone message? Okay, yeah. At least that's something. I'll put in a clip of the phone message here.
You see, Irahor Ibercaha, Aaron Tim played and 4 player below the Fahy Beck of Knocknaquilla, Kilflynn, County Kerry.
I thought, I mean, even from the sort of stuff we do, like we're recording now in a professional sounding studio, if you were recording this phone message, you wouldn't necessarily have had to use a professional sounding studio. You can hear it's a woman in an office somewhere because you can hear background noise going on around her. You can hear like other people's phones and maybe a radio.
Yeah.
You can also hear, it's all one take. If she makes a mistake, they don't cut it out. She just kind of goes, and she keeps talking.
Primary Healthcare Coordinator, Daraocinn. People before profit.
Keeps talking, and as well, the quality is ridiculous. And what I find funny about it is the Irish version, but she reads out all the information in English.
You see, Irahor, Iber Shediog, Aaron Tim plays and 4 player below the Slim Bin of 66 Lee Drive, Tralee, County Kerry, Digital Marketing Officer, Labour.
Yeah.
What was the point of that?
Yeah. And not to harp on her too much, but if you're going to get somebody to read it, I mean, you gave me that file. Listen to it. I think the file was like 20 minutes long.
That one was, I can't remember. It was 7 minutes, I think. So if you're listening to both the local and the European, you'd want at least 20 minutes.
Yeah.
You'd want at least 20 minutes. And like, you could either memorise them or you could ring the number while you're inside the polling station and just wait there. But the thing is, there was no way of reversing it.
Yeah.
There was no way of going back. So if you had to keep ringing and ringing and ringing.
Is that a free phone number?
You have reached the free phone line for the Kerry County Council elections.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Thank goodness for small mercies.
But that's ridiculous. Like, it just made no sense. In the long run. Oh, as well, the tactile only went up to number 20.
Oh.
As far as I know, there was only 20. There was only 20 slots. You're kind of like, yeah, lads.
So the person who manufactured the tactile did not count on so many people getting into politics.
No, I don't think so.
Do they keep the tactile in the polling station, or do you have to bring your own?
Oh no, to keep him in it. And there was like, we came in, and obviously I was the first person of the day who needed to use it, and that was it. That was after dinner.
Right.
The man who was the officer in charge of our booth had to run into the polling station next door to ask the woman there how to use it. So they both had to figure out how to use it. They were not properly trained.
Right. It's like the expanded version of me just asking for an eraser.
Yeah.
Like everybody knows what it is, but they had no clue they had them, and they had no clue where they were stored.
No proper information, no proper training. And what I found, our colleague Barry was telling me as well, that he went to his polling station, and they gave him that and told him, do it yourself. Put it on yourself. You have to line this up properly. Like it's the officers meant to do it because it's meant to line up. There's some system, I can't remember exactly, but they meant to do it themselves.
Yeah, the tactile has to overlap with the boxes. Otherwise, you're not going to put your X in the box. You're going to put your X at just some random point on the page.
And like it didn't line up. Like it was kind of, like I said, it was kind of crumply and bumpily and all this kind of stuff. And one of my friends up in Dublin said she knows straight out she spoiled her vote accidentally, unwillingly.
Oh,
because things weren't lined up properly. Everyone needed help at some stage with it. Like I needed help. Like I didn't know the numbers all off by heart. So my mom had to help me, so she knew exactly who I voted for, which is grand. Because if my mom, politically, we have kind of the same views anyway. That's grand. But that wasn't my choice.
Yeah.
If you want the choice of it be a secret vote, an independent vote, you should have the choice. That should be up to you. I find Irish people in general aren't really secretive in who they vote for. Really, like they'll just tell you straight out, I voted for so and so.
Yeah, I love telling you their opinions.
That's your choice.
Yeah.
And usually tell them afterwards.
So because the system of voting in Ireland isn't set, like we're supposed to take voting very seriously and we're supposed to all have a responsibility to do it and like keep it secret. The system in Ireland isn't actually set up so it's possible for blind people to do that.
No.
It's so bad you have to get help. So why is it so bad?
I don't know. And like I said, with the whole 1, 2, 3 thing, if you are born blind, even with all these tactiles and all this, you still have to have someone do it with you anyway.
Yeah.
You don't know your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc.
Yeah.
There's no tactile in the world that'll help you do that.
Yeah, it's like a world where people only speak either French or German, and in order to do the voting, you have to speak both French and German.
Yeah.
It's so crazy. It's so crazy. I don't know.
It's like if I want to use a tactile with the Braille, I need to learn Braille. If my friend Nicky wants to, who's blind from birth, if he has to bring someone because he has to have 1, 2, 3, just makes no sense.
It's so confusing.
Easily enough, they just bring in some like the electronic voting. They have all the machines there, and there's all the excuses.
Yeah, electronic voting has never actually. I don't think that's ever been implemented. That would be
how much they spent. They spent millions on that, didn't they?
That was a huge sink of money.
Mm-hmm.
I've read numerous times on the news. I've seen this pop up on RT and on the Radio Kerry News multiple times about this brand new voting system for the blind. I think I've seen maybe 8 different articles about it, and all the articles seem very proud about how good it is. But I have to wonder what blind people were consulted or like did dry runs on this election system where you've got this phone messages, all obviously recorded in one take by one woman who's not a voice actress, who's not in a soundproof studio, no editing, like no sound control, multiple versions done for every constituency, and then that has to be used in concert with a piece of paper, a tactile that they may not have, or if they have it, they don't know what it is, and if they have it and they know what it is, they don't know how to apply it.
So you're right, because I've seen, like leading up to it, I saw a good few articles, and it was all a case of, we've done it, we've solved it.
Yeah, says the people with eyesight.
Exactly, but there was no kind of, how did you do it? It's like, there's going to be a tactile, and it's going to be, they kind of give the bare minimum of information, which made it seem fantastic.
Yeah,
as you said there, who did they
consult?
Consult, thank you. It's late. Who did they consult? And it's very, very rarely are 2 blind people the same. Like you're blind. There's different versions of blindness. There's different versions of vision loss. Sight. Like there's no 2 blind people are the same. That's what I'm trying to say. So if it works for one person, that's fantastic. The system could work for 10 other people, but it mightn't work for the other 10 people.
It feels to me like the government turned around to you and went, Dara, we've made you a car. And then you're like, great. And they say, okay, here's a pile of wheels, here's a chassis, and there's an engine. And you're like, oh, did you try putting these together to see if it runs? They're like, no, it'll be grand. And you're like, I'm pretty sure you need a drive shaft so the wheels will spin. They're like, no, it's grand. You'll figure it out.
It's like the early 2010 saying, few naggins be grand.
Yeah. I know it's always easier to complain about something than to suggest the solution, but I'm going to ask you the hard question. Have you got any ideas for what they could do for the next voting to make it not even good, just to make it less terrible?
With the whole phone service, that's fair enough. If they did it on a recorder, like an MP3 player, anything like that, and have it in the polling station that they could hand to you, and then that way, if you want to listen to it, that's fair enough. But you also have the option of just rewinding, fast forwarding.
Yeah.
Because at the start of the phone messages, it's not a waffle.
This message sets out the candidates for the European Parliament election on the 24th of May 2019 in the order in which they appear on the ballot paper. If you wish to hear this information in the English language, press 1 now. If you wish to hear this information in the Irish language, press 2 now. If you are a vision-impaired voter wishing to vote in secret, ask the presiding officer at your polling station to attach a ballot paper template to your ballot paper. Raised numbering and braille on the template guides you to the relevant openings that correspond to the candidates on the ballot paper.
I don't care about any of this. I know all this. I just want the candidates.
Yeah, I said we're fairly like amateurish sound engineers and editors here because we're doing a course. But I mean, we could just say, as a simple suggestion, make every candidate's information a clip itself. So you can just go forward, backwards. Yeah. So if she goes 1, Mary O'Sullivan, you go forward and she goes 2, and you go 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then she goes Bob O'Shea. You're like, I'll vote for Bob O'Shea.
Yeah.
Just make it into clips instead of one continuous audio file that's, in some cases, 20 minutes long.
Yeah.
Is a Irahor Ibrahim on template in far player below the Cron and Ted of Lee Drive, Eleanor Tralee, County Kerry, carer, non-party.
And as you said, the people doing them clearly didn't want to do them.
Yeah.
There was no oomph, enthusiasm. They were just told, Mary, will you do this for me there? Oh, do I have to? You can do it on the phone. Okay.
Yeah, just splash out on someone with a good voice. Like, we have some lads in the class here with some fantastic voices.
Exactly. Yeah.
Sound of my audio going bad there was me turning to look at the class that the listener can't see. But we got some fantastic voices, and people could read them with a lot of enthusiasm. I suppose the difficulty for the council is it has to be someone who can read in Irish. The woman who was reading, again, I don't want to moan about her too much. Her Irish didn't sound great either.
Mark vote Harley, log auch to, mean last vote around the Akahas.
I'm with you there. I don't know. It's like I said, I don't know was it her Irish or just her lack of enthusiasm.
Yeah.
But they just didn't go together.
I could hear the flakes of rust breaking off her Irish as she was flexing it.
Yeah.
But it was still pretty rusty by the end. Is there anything that can be done in the polling station?
A lot more awareness from the officers, I think. Not awareness from the officers, training for them. They're obviously given these, like, this is this for blind people, off you go. But I don't think there was any proper training given.
Yeah, it sounded like the person in your station didn't even get that much since you had to run next door and ask someone else. That was crazy.
The referenda ones, they work. And just because, like, that's fair enough, there's no need to change that. It's just the election. It's just because it's so big.
Yeah. The amount of candidates is legitimately difficult to process.
Mm-hmm. I'm more of a moaner more than a fixer.
It is a hard question because you are not, in of yourself, an entire governmental department with budget and personnel.
I'd love to be involved in it.
Yeah.
And like that, it's one of those, like a brainstorming. That's when things happen. That they're just sitting right here. I can't fix it. Yeah. Do you want to give your email address in case anybody involved in the election for next year wants to contact you for a consult? My email address is daraocinn@gmail.com. Excellent. And we'll put that in the show notes of wherever we post this. Like I said, I'm not really giving out about the fact. I'm not giving out about the fact that it didn't work. I'm more just... It seemed like they tried. So we can give them credit for trying. I'm not giving out that they tried and failed. I'm just giving out it just didn't work. That kind of way. I'm just... Yeah. The process, shall we say kindly, needs some refinement. Yeah. And it might work next time. Yeah. But time after that. But as long as it doesn't, it's just this whole kind of, we've done it attitude. That's what's saying. That's what's kind of... I suppose what we're hoping for is just like incremental improvements. Mm-hmm. And if we have enough of them, eventually it will be perfect. Yeah. But we're definitely not there yet. We're hoping we'll get there soon. Yeah. And I can see it being like every other Irish issue. Oh, that's nothing to do with us. You want to talk to talk to Sheila
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah.
And then you talk to Sheila. Oh, no, Padder. Talk to Padder. He's the one who's to deal with that. I find that when it comes to Ireland and problems, no one wants to fix it, but everyone will blame each other.
Yeah, yeah. And if you follow that chain of people to its conclusion, you will often find yourself back at the first person, who the 14th person told you it's actually their job.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
the only solution to get something done in Ireland, apparently, is to hire in a load of Polish lads to do it.
Yeah.
They'll get it done in half a week for like 1/4 of the budget that we initially assigned it for. I guess that concludes our off-site episode of Insight. I've been David Sheehan, and I'm here with
Daraocinn.
Goodbye. I'll put in a clip of the phone message here. Bleepy bloopy bloop.
Hello.
Hello.
Hit me with the funky ass beat. Bow, 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 bow.